Hello, and a warm welcome to everyone watching this video presentation. My name is Keith Wingard, and I am the Strategic Partnerships Manager with Solar Cookers International, which is a US-based nonprofit organization advocating for the use of climate-friendly solar cooking technologies to improve human health, economic well-being, women's empowerment, and the environment. Solar cooking is a powerful alternative to cooking with biomass fuels like wood and charcoal. We have a number of presentations today that will highlight how solar cooking and other solar energy technologies can be effective solutions to address climate change. Solar cook stoves use renewable solar energy to cook meals without any resulting greenhouse gas emissions, such as black carbon, a powerful climate-forcing pollutant that has a profound effect on the world's cryosphere regions. Before I introduce the exciting lineup of guest speakers, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative, ICCI, for the opportunity to highlight solar cooking and its links to the cryosphere. I will also note that this event was originally scheduled to take place at the Cryosphere Pavilion on the last day of COP30. Unfortunately, as many of you may know, there was a fire at the COP30 venue in Belém, Brazil on the second to last day of COP30, which meant all pavilions and events scheduled to take place within those pavilions were canceled. On behalf of Solar Cookers International, we sincerely thank ICCI for their collaboration and flexibility, and their willingness to post a slightly amended version of the previously planned event, and we thank everyone for watching from wherever you are around the world. Fortunately, several of our guest speakers recorded video presentations for the original event, which we are thrilled to share with you today. After a few introductory slides where I will highlight the links between solar cooking and the cryosphere, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome Mr. Alessandrabo from ChildFund International, who will talk about the importance of solar energy solutions in Africa, my colleague Sarah Rosen, who will provide more information about Solar Cookers International and how we are working to expand access to clean solar cooking technologies, and Martin Ciafaglia and Alejandra Tartara from EcoGaia, who will highlight the opportunity to leverage carbon finance for scaling up solar cooking in collaboration with Solar Cookers International. In 2021, Solar Cookers International was honored to be named one of the winners of the Keeling Curve Prize, named after scientist Charles David Keeling's work monitoring the buildup of CO2 concentrations in the Earth's atmosphere. This graph, shown on this slide, is a reminder of the continuing upward trajectory of climate-changing pollutants, which has far-reaching consequences for our planet. One pollutant contributing to climate change is black carbon. An estimated 25% of black carbon emissions come from household cook stoves that burn solid fuels like wood and charcoal. Black carbon from household cooking activities floats into the atmosphere and can be carried long distances before landing elsewhere, including on the ice-covered regions of the planet known as the cryosphere. When black carbon settles onto snow or icy surfaces, it contributes to climate change in a number of ways. Black carbon that lands on the cryosphere both reduces the reflectivity of ice and accelerates melting, since the darkened ice warms faster. This also results in the destabilization of glaciers, which also contributes to sea level rise. This black carbon effect also leads to a process known as Arctic amplification, where the Arctic region warms faster than the global average. You may be asking yourself where solar cooking comes into play. In 2013, my colleague Alan Bigelow joined a solar trek in Nepal. You can see the snow and ice-capped mountains in the background of this photo. The trek included an array of solar cookers, which were used to cook meals and heat water for tea using the abundant sunshine. In places like Nepal, with high icy mountains, reducing emissions from cooking activities means less black carbon landing on snow and ice. In this way, solar cooking is an effective solution to help preserve our planet's cryosphere and combat climate change. With the mountains in Nepal, it is important to reduce human activities like burning wood and charcoal that lead to black carbon in the atmosphere. But it's not just within Nepal and neighboring India where this is important. Expanding solar energy solutions like solar cooking in Africa, where access to clean cooking remains a significant challenge in many countries, can also reduce the concentration of black carbon in our atmosphere. Finally, I'll end with two photos, again thanks to my colleague Alan Bigelow. We are often asked whether it is possible to solar cook in cold weather regions, and the answer is a resounding yes. The evacuated tube solar cooker design in this photo was being used to cook in New York on a day with snow on the ground. The key is having direct sunlight, and often clear, cold days are ideal conditions for solar cooking. This last photo shows Alan taking the food out of the solar cooker once it has been cooked with the power of the sun. Once again, SCI would like to thank the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative for hosting the Cryosphere Pavilion and this makeup event, and we'd also like to thank our wonderful guest speakers from ChildFund International and EcoGaia. We equally extend our thanks and sincere appreciation to our donors, supporters, and all the solar cooks around the world cooking with sunlight. We hope you enjoy the presentations that are part of today's event, and I will turn it over to Mr. Alessandrabo, the Deputy Regional Director for Programs and Impact Africa with ChildFund International. Thanks.
Hello everyone, and thank you Solar Cookers International, Global Warming Mitigation Project, and EcoGaia for including ChildFund Alliance on this distinguished panel. My name is Alessandrabo. I'm the Deputy Regional Director for the Africa region for ChildFund International. I'm really honored to be here today to represent ChildFund Alliance and speak on the powerful benefits that solar solutions can bring to children and young people in rural communities across Africa. Let me first give a short introduction to who we are and why we are here as a child-focused INGO. ChildFund International is a member of ChildFund Alliance, a global network of 11 child-focused development and humanitarian organizations. ChildFund International is a child-centered development organization that positively impacts millions of children, families, and communities to create environments that fuel sustainable change so that children can be healthy, are educated, skilled, and safe. So we work with local partners, we work with governments, we work with partner organizations that focus on locally led, high-impact implementation that leads to a stronger system and sustainable, lasting change. So you may be asking, what does clean energy have to do with children? Well, let me tell you. First, education. Access to reliable and clean energy is a challenge in many parts of rural Africa. Children still learn in darkness. The schools far from the reach of the power grid, leading to significant barriers to learning. Let me tell you about Maria, for example, a grade 5 student in Sierra Leone who dreamt of becoming a doctor. But studying at night was nearly impossible because her home had no electricity. Many rural schools lack reliable power, and during rainy days, classrooms are too dark for learning. Through solar lamps and solar-powered school facilities, we are changing this reality. In Sierra Leone alone, we invested in solar systems for schools, giving students and teachers uninterrupted light. Miriam is able to study today and improve her grades. We are seeing the same across Kenya and Zambia, where over 11,000 students now have solar lamps to study safely at home. Clean energy is unlocking learning opportunities and digital literacy for thousands of children across Africa. So that was education. Second, health and safety. Solar-powered water purification systems like Solvatten, a Swedish company that we are partnering with in Kenya, to ensure families have safe drinking water without burning firewood. And this reduces respiratory illnesses from smoke, it prevents waterborne diseases, and saves families money. Mothers' testimonies have proven now they use those savings for food and school fees, directly supporting children. A triple win. We have also worked with solar solutions, powering wash facilities in schools, improving hygiene and reducing disease outbreaks, critical for children's health and young girls' dignity. Number 3, protection and gender equity. Though we have not implemented solar cookers like my fellow panelists, we do have experience with energy-saving stoves and biogas systems in our Zambia and Ethiopia programs, where we have successfully reduced the time that girls spend collecting firewood and lowering risks of violence and freeing time for education. Women-led biocar initiatives in Senegal not only provide clean cooking alternatives, but also create income opportunities, empowering women and supporting children's schooling. So this type of approach is a great mixed solution to couple with solar stoves. As we know, there's not one single solution that fits all contexts. And finally, food security and resilience. Our work with solar-powered irrigation in drought-prone areas of Kenya and Ethiopia particularly has enabled year-round farming and nutritious crops, improving diets for children, and boosting household income. So these solar systems help provide low-cost and fuel-free water access fully, leading to households growing diverse crops and vegetables, improving nutrition and income, reduced labor burden for women, freeing time for family care, farming, and small businesses. However, despite these successes, we all know as a society we have not reached all those in need effectively with clean energy. Access to clean energy solutions is still uneven, still costly, and in some cases, projects are abandoned, not because they lack potential, but because communities lack the knowledge and skills to adopt, maintain, and repair solar technologies once installed, and initiatives are not properly linked to government systems. Furthermore, the skills gap continues to grow, especially in rural areas that lack access to Tibet schools on the latest clean energy engineering programs. So this is why community engagement, multi-stakeholder partnerships are critical, especially in NDC commitments around clean energy. But even more importantly, why we must channel investments in the next generation skills and knowledge assets. These young people will inherit and manage the solutions we are implementing today by equipping them with technical skills, leadership opportunities, and a sense of ownership. We ensure that clean energy becomes a sustainable reality, not a short-term intervention. This requires a shift in investments that fit their needs today for the future. So in short, clean energy is not just about reducing emissions, though all of us here know it's a critical driver to investing in it. However, it's about transforming lives. It means children can learn after sunset, drink clean water, breathe clean air, and grow up in communities that are healthier, safer, and more resilient. At ChildFund, we believe every child has the right to a safe and sustainable environment, as stated by the Children's Rights Convention. And solar solutions help make that possible. However, like many discussions being held here at COP30, we need to come together across sectors to integrate clean energy across systems, to truly turn the corner so that solutions like we mentioned here can be adopted systematically. Channeling finance to improve clean energy transitions that meet the needs of communities, not just industries, to truly ensure a just and equitable transition and ensure the next generation is skilled to take on that transition. at ChildFund, we like to say, because we need each other. Thank you. Now allow me to introduce a short video from one of our solar projects in Kenya, a solar-powered irrigation system that has enabled year-round cultivation of highly nutritious, orange-fleshed sweet potatoes, even in dry conditions of the drought-prone Turkana and Samburu counties, to fight hunger and malnutrition. This project has improved the economic and nutrition status of over 12,000 children, 300 youth, and 300 women, boosting household income and food security. Please enjoy a short celebration of the community, giving thanks to this powerful and meaningful solution.
Hello. I'd like to start by thanking the Cryosphere Pavilion for hosting us here today. My name is Sarah Rosen, and I am the Program and Operations Manager at Solar Cookers International. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm joining you remotely today from Denmark. And I thought I'd mention that since I live in a colder country, I often get asked if I personally am able to solar cook here. And the answer is absolutely yes. I solar cook all the time, and if I can do it here in Denmark, people living in cryosphere regions or other cold climates can do it too. I also know that many of you here bring your own solar cooking experience and expertise, while some others who are joining us are just beginning to explore it. So before we dive in, I want to take a moment to explore some of the basics, beginning with the very simple question, what is a solar cooker? A solar cooker is an appliance that collects and absorbs direct sunlight and retains heat to cook food or pasteurize water. More specifically, this process is called solar thermal cooking. And a solar cooker needs an outdoor spot where it is sunny for several hours. They're not necessarily warm. And we start with a container that has a greenhouse enclosure, maybe a piece of glass or plastic that sits on top. And the sunlight passes easily through the glass where it is trapped and absorbed by a dark cooking vessel. Many solar cookers have additional shiny surfaces to help capture more sunlight and therefore produce more energy. And while solar cookers all operate on the same basic principle, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. The best cooker for you is going to be the one that suits your climate, your cooking style, your budget, mobility, and how many people you cook for. And fortunately, with hundreds of different cooker designs available, there is a solar cooker to fit almost any situation. Here we see three of the most common solar cooker designs. On the left, we have a reflective panel cooker, which are often the simplest, most portable, and most budget-friendly. In the middle, we have an example of a box oven, which is quite sturdy. And on the right, we have a parabolic cooker, which can reach high temperatures and concentrates sunlight on the central point. Solar cookers are often used with complementary technologies as well, such as retained heat baskets, which will keep your food warm after the sun goes down and while you focus on other things. Here we see a few more variations, including Fresnel lens and mirror cookers. These use a series of angled steps or concentric grooves to concentrate sunlight. We also see a couple examples of evacuated tube cookers, which make use of very well-insulated glass tubes that can cook quickly and are often well-suited for small meals. Finally, in addition to the cookers that we just saw, which mostly accommodate the household or small group, We also see larger institutional solar cookers being used in restaurants, schools, community spaces, and production facilities. The images we see here depict an institutional rooftop system at the Shirdi Sai Baba temple in India. And the system uses sunlight to generate steam and is capable of cooking 40 to 50,000 meals a day. So why does solar cooking matter? About 2.1 billion people, or 1 in 4 worldwide, still cook with polluting fuels. And this isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Smoke from open fires causes serious health problems like chronic heart and respiratory disease. Burning wood and charcoal drives air pollution and black carbon emissions, which of course is particularly relevant here today at the Cryosphere Pavilion because black carbon speeds up melting in ice and snow regions. Women are hardest hit because they are usually the ones cooking and collecting firewood, work that is time-consuming and sometimes unsafe. Solar thermal cooking changes that. With just sunlight, people can cook safely and cleanly without smoke, without emissions, and without paying for fuel. So, who is Solar Cookers International and what role do we play? SCI is a nonprofit organization working to improve human health, economic well-being, women's empowerment, and the environment by promoting climate-friendly solar cooking solutions for vulnerable communities around the world. Since 1987, SCI has been leading and convening the sector, building a strong collaborative network that now spans over 135 countries. And how do we work towards our mission? How do we reach the 2.1 billion people? We have 3 main mechanisms that underpin and reinforce each other: advocacy, research, and capacity building. And through these tools, SCI supports the global solar cooking community while also creating the enabling environment needed to mainstream solar cooking and scale up projects so that they can reach more people. So with that, I will hand it over to others who will explore these different efforts and talk about the broader landscape. Thank you very much. Hello again. I would now like to take some time to dive into something that is at the heart of COP and crucial to building a sustainable solar cooking sector: nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. I will also share a few tools that SCI makes available to help empower solar cooks, advocates, and project leaders. Nationally determined contributions, for those that don't know, are high-level documents at the heart of the Paris Agreement, which serve as each country's commitment to reducing emissions and adapting to climate impacts. They provide valuable information reflecting country area of focus, most urgent needs, strategies, and targets. And to meet these needs and hit these targets often requires a country to introduce new policy, mobilize financial resources, or establish new partnerships. So if we want to be one of those partners, it's important to know what is in each NDC. What are we looking for when we read through the NDCs? The first thing is to determine whether the cooking sector is acknowledged as an area of concern. This includes any mention of cooking, cook stoves, or cooking practices. And this acknowledgement, even without specific targets, reflects an awareness of the sector's environmental, social, and health impacts. And it is a critical first step, integrating clean cooking solutions into climate action plans. Without it, the sector risks being overlooked. Next, we look for a language that's favorable to solar cooking. And we consider an NDC receptive if it promotes multiple clean cooking solutions, includes renewable energy targets for cooking, or references improved cooking technologies. These countries are well positioned to scale solar cooking initiatives. And if a party specifically mentions solar cooking, it shows that they already understand the technology and the door is already open. In this year's report, we found 77 NDCs specifically mention cooking or cook stoves, and 53 include language that could support solar cooking solutions. Additionally, 5 parties specifically mention solar cooking in the most recent or previous NDCs. While each NDC is unique, common themes or context around cooking include a focus on reducing fuel wood, mitigating air pollution, gender, and off-grid energy solutions. I especially want to highlight 2 countries, Central African Republic and Lesotho, which not only mention solar cooking, but also introduce specific targets. So Central African Republic's inclusion of this language played a big role in helping SCI focus our efforts, work with decision makers and organizations within the country to establish a new program, establish manufacturing capacity, and seed a solar cooking ecosystem. Specific targets are great, but there is a broad range of NDC language and policy that can facilitate cooking initiatives, from appointing a clean cooking champion to offering tax incentives or enabling carbon financing. And this type of enabling language provides concrete policy levers that turn recognition of the sector into scaled, sustainable action. 2025 was particularly important because it marks the 3rd round of NDC submissions, which are intended to be more ambitious and progressive. Many countries are now incorporating these crucial policy levers as part of a whole of economy approach, creating space for cross-cutting solutions like solar cooking to be included, scaled, and supported. So our work reviewing NDCs is part of a broader advocacy effort. We engage in a range of international forums, such as the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, where we highlight how solar cooking supports all 17 SDGs. We also participate in the Commission on the Status of Women, and most recently, my colleague attended the Solar World Congress. Across all these spaces, our goal is the same: to equip decision makers with the information they need to recognize solar cooking as a viable, scalable solution. And while NDCs indicate which countries might be receptive, we need more tools to assess impact. So we track the number of solar cookers globally and maintain a dynamic map that visualizes where they are being used. We have so far identified more than 4.8 million cookers worldwide. And this information helps us understand where solar cooking is already taking hold, where there's potential for greater impact. It is a valuable tool for project leaders showing where awareness is strong or where more outreach could make the difference. The map is available on our website, and because it's crowdsourced, we encourage everyone to contribute. So if you or someone you know has cookers to add, please visit our website, and no project is too small. And the number of cookers is not just a statistic, of course. It represents the families reached, meals cooked, money saved, reduction in emissions, respiratory illness, forest loss. And we have applied this understanding at the country level through our economic impact summaries, which answer a simple question: how much could a country save in healthcare and environmental costs by switching to solar cooking? Importantly, our analysis models a scenario where people who are currently relying on polluting fuels switch to solar for just a quarter of their meals, recognizing cloudy days and cooking at night. And this model shows how solar cooking can complement existing methods. And even at this modest adoption level, the potential savings are tremendous. Here we have an example from Nepal, a cryosphere country, where more than half the population depends on polluting fuels for cooking, contributing to more than 25,000 deaths annually. By switching to solar a quarter of the time, the country stands to avoid more than 1.5 million tons of CO2 equivalent emissions and $226 million in avoided health and environmental costs. You can find your country's estimated impact summary on the SCI website under download resources. And there you'll also find our NDC report, as well as some of our most useful resources for various stages of your solar cooking journey. So to help you take action, we offer tools that support learning and implementation. You will find project evaluation resources, including a quick needs assessment and an impact survey, which really set projects up for a strong evidence-based initiative and learning. You'll find a toolkit with resources for advocates, cooks, teachers, and more. And if you are just getting started, I recommend exploring the basics with SCI's guide, How to Make, Use, and Enjoy Solar Cookers. Finally, I want to share one of SCI's most cherished resources, a solar cooking wiki. This is the world's largest online solar cooking resource, and it is hosted and managed by SCI, but really depends on people from around the world sharing their experiences and expertise. It is a treasure trove of information with almost 1,800 pages and translations in 37 languages. You can find a great variety of information, including news, events, learning materials, vendors, manufacturers, and open source designs for making a cookie yourself. And one of the most helpful features is that every country has its own page, so you can really zero in on what's happening in your region. And I just want to note that here we are looking at two different websites. The resource mentioned earlier can be found on SCI's website, solarcookers.org, while the wiki can be found at solarcooking.org. So I think that's probably a good number of resources to get you started. And I would just want to thank you for having me here today and for sharing this journey of solar cooking with us. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at the Cryosphere Pavilion at COP30. I'm Martin Ciarfaglia. I'm the CEO and co-founder of EcoGaia. At EcoGaia, we work at the intersection of science, technology, and sustainability, developing solutions that addresses the climate crisis while creating tangible benefits for people and ecosystems. Our project range from carbon and biodiversity initiatives designated to generate carbon and biodiversity credits. Our other solutions are also clean energy and ecosystem restoration, always seeking to connect innovation with measurable environmental and social impacts. It's an honor to be part of this event alongside Solar Cooker International, sharing how solar energy can become a true ally for climate resilience. And with me, it's Alejandra Tartara, our CTO in EcoGaia.
Thanks, Martin. Hello, everyone. Over the past year, our teams at Solar Cookers International and EcoGaia have been working together on two clean cooking initiatives in Mali and in the Central African Republic. Both are countries where energy poverty, deforestation, and climate vulnerability are deeply connected, and both shows enormous potential for solar energy to transform everyday life. Today, we'd like to share how a simple idea, cooking with sunlight, can grow into a structured and financeable climate solution, a solution that improves livelihoods, preserves forests, and reduces emission at scale.
In much of sub-Saharan Africa, daily cooking still depends on burning wood or charcoal. In Mali and the Central African Republic, according to the WHO, over 95% of households rely on these fuels every single day. This carries a heavy cost. Women and girls often spend hours collecting firewood. Indoors, the smoke causes respiratory illness and eye irritation. And on a larger scale, it drives deforestation and greenhouse gas emissions. Solar cooking changes that dynamic. By using one of the most abundant resources on Earth, families can prepare food without fuel, without smoke, and without cost. Solar cooking sits at the intersection of climate, health, and gender equality. Every solar cooker that SCI distributes reduces emissions, protects trees, and gives time back, time for education, for work, and for life. It's a simple act, but one that speaks to global climate justice.
When SCI first approached EcoGaia, the goal was clear: to design a carbon credit program that could be, on one side, financially viable, methodologically sound, and socially inclusive. So in this direction, this year in 2025, with EcoGaia team and SCI team, we conducted 2 feasibility studies in Mali and in CAR, following one of the newest and most robust carbon credit methodologies developed under Gold Standard, one of the most trusted frameworks for clean cooking carbon projects. We started from scratch, analyzing data from several hundred households and surveys conducted there. And we defined the project baseline: how much wood and charcoal family normally uses, how meals are prepared, and which technologies fit better with local habits. From there, we modelized how solar cookers could replace traditional fuels under very realistic and conservative assumptions. And we estimated the associated emission reductions from our project scenario and our project activities. We tested several technologies, from reflective panels, box cookers, parabolic models, solar electric hybrids, always focusing on one key principle: adoption first. Technology only works when people truly want to use it. This study also analyzed other vectors such as community engagement. How are we going to engage with the communities, the local communities, training, all the training that we wanted to provide to them, and all the maintenance practices. Because a project is only sustainable when people feel it belongs to them. One of the strongest findings from this work was the central role that carbon finance take. Clean cooking projects are transformative, but without sustainable funding, they can't reach scale. That's where carbon credits make all the difference. Income generated by these carbon credits can be reinvested to distribute more and more cook stoves to the community. This project actually started this year with a pilot project of 450 distributed cook stoves. But thanks to carbon finance, our goal over this 15-year crediting period from 2025 to 2039 is that the combined program of Mali and the Central African Republic is expected to distribute around 45,000 clean cook stoves around the communities and reduce approximately 440,000 tons of CO2 equivalent, generating roughly 370,000 verified carbon credits. Each cook stove more or less can prevent up to 10 tons of CO2 equivalent emissions over its lifetime, depending a little bit on local fuel use, adoption rates, the lifespan of the cooker. And this might seem a little bit small, but multiplied across tens of thousands of households, it becomes a powerful and measurable impact. Current revenues cover most of the process, from manufacturing, distribution, user training, after-sales support, and local employment for maintenance team. Both projects are now entering into the first implementation phase, with the first verified credits expected to be issued between end of 2026 and beginning of 2027. The next 5 years will focus on expansion, step by step, community by community, until solar cooking becomes a real alternative for everyone's life.
When we talk about carbon credits, it's easy to focus on numbers. But what those numbers represent are living ecosystems and human lives. Each ton of CO2 avoided means cleaner air inside homes. Each solar cooker means fewer trees cut down. Each family train means more time, more opportunities, and a pathway to greater equity, especially for women. But beyond social progress, what happens here affects the global climate system. When forests are lost and biomass is burned, emissions don't stay local. They travel, they move across regions, and eventually reach the snow and ice that make up the cryosphere. And that's why we're here today, because what we do in tropical regions, the way we cook, the fuels we burn, the trees we cut or save, all of it has consequences that reach the poles. By reducing the pressure of forests, solar cooking tackles this emission at the source. It's more than a health or social intervention. It's a climate solution that protects the cryosphere itself. And there's a deeper climate connection. Intact forests regulate rainfall, stabilize soils, and store more carbon. When they remain intact, they maintain the hydrological balance between tropical climates and high latitude ecological systems. In that sense, solar cooking becomes part of a climate feedback loop. So when a family in Mali or the Central African Republic cooks with sunlight, it may seem like small change, but collectively, it contributes to the stability of the entire planet. Solar cooking shows that local actions are not isolated. They are nodes of resilience in the global climate network.
And the success of these programs now depends on keeping momentum, not standing still, maintaining engagement, maintaining the trainings, and continuing the support. The feasibility phase gave us a strong foundation, reliable data, conservative modeling, and a clear path forward for validation and verification, for certifying this project under a current standard. But now comes the implementation and the scaling, where community participation is at the center. We're aligning the project with national climate and energy strategies so that clean cooking becomes part of a broader energy transition plan, not an isolated effort. And the long-term goal isn't just issuing carbon credits. The long-term goal is about creating systems that last, systems that generate jobs, systems that improve health and strengthen ecosystems. Carbon finance isn't just a mechanism, it's a movement to generate long-lasting impact.
What we learned through this process is that climate action can start with something as simple as preparing a meal. Clean energy transitions must be both technological and human. They must reach people where they live and make daily life better.
And partnerships like this one between SCI and EcoGaia show how collaboration, data, and trust can turn small interventions into real, scalable climate solutions. Solar cooking begins in everyday life, yet it impacts and expands from the family table to the global atmosphere.
Thank you to Solar Cookers International for your vision, and to everyone here at the Cryosphere Pavilion for recognizing that climate solutions can be both local and planetary.
Thank you.